So here we are with the members of Cinderella here at Much Music. Please welcome Eric Brittingham and Tom Kiefer. Eric.
How you doing?
Yeah, good to have you here. And Tom.
Quite a way to come in.
Well, you know.
People put too much emphasis on the fashion in rock and roll today because rock and roll really is, I mean, it is a way of life and a lifestyle, but the most important thing is the music. And I've read album reviews on us, and all they talk about is what we wear.
Cinderella ruled the late 1980s with scorching riffs and raw vocals. But just as they hit their stride, everything came crashing down. Behind the scenes, everything was falling apart, and suddenly, they were gone. What actually happened to them after the fame? Join us as we uncover what led to the end of one of America's most promising rock band. Cinderella was one of the most successful rock bands of the 1980s, rising to fame with their mix of hard rock, blues, and glam metal. The band was formed in 1982 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania by singer and guitarist Tom Kiefer and bassist Eric Brittingham. Kiefer had a passion for music from a young age, influenced by bands like the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. Tom Kiefer was born and raised in Springfield, Pennsylvania, in a household filled with music. From an early age, he gravitated toward playing the guitar, eagerly immersing himself in the rich sounds of different styles. However, it was the raw, emotional depth of blues music that captured his heart most intensely. The more he listened, the more he became drawn to its expressive melodies and passionate energy. During his years at Springfield High School, Kiefer took a major step toward his dreams by joining his first rock band. This experience fueled his ambition more, and he soon set his sights on mastering the electric guitar. Despite his growing musical skills, his teenage years were not without hardship. Struggling with substance and alcohol addiction, he found himself in a difficult place. At one point, he even contemplated leaving school entirely to pursue music full-time. His mother, Adrienne, deeply concerned for his future, made a deal with him. If he finished school, he would receive a Gibson Les Paul guitar. The thought of owning such a prized instrument motivated him, and he ultimately completed his education, earning both his diploma and the highly desired guitar. Determined to move forward, Kiefer gradually overcame his struggles and committed himself to building a career in music. He not only practiced diligently, but also started writing his own songs, crafting original material that would later define his sound. To support himself financially, he took on various jobs, including walking racehorses at tracks and delivering film to developing outlets. While working and honing his skills, he also played in a central Pennsylvania band called Telepath, gaining valuable experience in live performances and songwriting. Kiefer's aspirations came into sharper focus when he partnered with his close friend and bassist, Eric Brittingham, to form the hard rock band Cinderella. Although naturally reserved and introverted, Kiefer stepped into the role of lead vocalist simply because they struggled to find someone who matched their vision. Though it was not his first choice, he embraced the challenge, despite feeling uneasy about performing without a guitar in his hands. In their early days, Cinderella played in local clubs, trying to get noticed in a competitive rock scene. The band's original lineup also included guitarist Michael Shermick and drummer Tony Destra. They spent long hours practicing in the attic of an American Legion building in Wayne, Pennsylvania, refining their sound. In 1985, Shermick and Destra left to form the glam metal band Britny Fox, prompting Cinderella to reconfigure its lineup. Around the same time, Gene Simmons of Kiss showed interest in the band and attempted to secure a deal for them with Polygram, though it did not materialize. A turning point arrived when John Bon Jovi saw Cinderella perform at the Empire Rock Club in Philadelphia. Impressed, he encouraged his A&R representative, Derek Shulman, to give them a chance. Shulman was hesitant at first, offering only a short-term development deal. However, after negotiations, he finally committed, signing Cinderella in 1985. With Mercury Polygram Records backing them, the band welcomed guitarist Jeff LaBar and drummer Jim Darnick, completing their lineup and setting the stage for future success. With a contract in hand, Cinderella worked on their debut album, Night Songs, which was released in 1986. The album had a heavier sound compared to their later work and quickly gained attention. The single, Shake Me, introduced them to audiences, but it was Nobody's Fool that truly put them on the map. the song's emotional lyrics and powerful delivery helped it become a hit. Night Songs eventually went triple platinum, selling over 3 million copies in the United States alone. Meanwhile, this was just the beginning. As the band gained popularity, they toured with big names like Bon Jovi and David Lee Roth. Their stage presence and Kiefer's unique voice set them apart from other bands of the era. While many glam metal bands focused on flashy looks and party anthems, Cinderella's music had a deeper, bluesy feel that connected with a wide audience. Kiefer's raspy vocals and passionate performances made their songs stand out. Their next album, Long Cold Winter, came out in 1988 and marked a shift in their style. While they still had rock anthems, they leaned more into blues influences. The album featured Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, their biggest hit, which reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song's heartfelt lyrics and powerful melodies made it a favorite among fans. Other hits from the album included Gypsy Road and Coming Home, both of which showcased their evolving sound. The album was another commercial success, selling over 2 million copies. By the time Cinderella released Heartbreak Station in 1990, they had fully embraced their blues rock influences. The album didn't sell as well as their previous work, but still went platinum. It featured songs like The More Things Change and the title track, which had a raw, emotional quality. However, the early 19 brought challenges for Cinderella. Grunge was taking over the music industry, pushing many 80s rock bands out of the spotlight. At the same time, Kiefer faced serious vocal issues, and these setbacks made it difficult for the band to continue at the same level of success. Their fourth album, Still Climbing, came out in 1994, but by then, the music scene had changed drastically. Despite strong songwriting and musicianship, the album didn't perform well commercially. Many fans still appreciated their work, but the band struggled to maintain their earlier momentum. After touring in support of the album, Cinderella went on a long break. Throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, Cinderella reunited for several tours, often playing with other classic rock bands from the 80s. Their live performances continued to draw crowds, proving that their music still had a loyal following. Their blend of hard rock and blues set them apart from many of their peers. While they were often grouped with glam metal bands, their music had a deeper, more soulful quality that resonated with fans even after their peak years. Songs like Nobody's Fool and Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone remain popular, often appearing on classic rock playlists. However, the band never released another studio album. Over the years, Cinderella sold more than 15 million albums worldwide. Despite the changing music industry, Cinderella's impact remains strong. Their influence can be heard in later rock and blues-inspired bands. Kiefer's perseverance, even after vocal troubles, is admired by many musicians. His journey from a struggling young artist to a rock star, then back to fighting for his voice, is inspiring. Fans continue to celebrate Cinderella's music, attending their reunion tours and following Kiefer's solo work. Although Cinderella never reached the same commercial heights as some of their peers, their authenticity and musical talent earned them a lasting place in rock history. Their songs captured the highs and lows of life, love, and dreams, making them more than just another 1980s band. Whether it was through energetic rock anthems or emotional ballads, Cinderella left a mark on the music world. However, their musical journey wasn't without its share of ups and downs. Although Cinderella was popular during the 1980s, their story was not just about fame and success. Behind the scenes, there were many controversies, struggles, and conflicts that shaped their history. While their music won over millions of fans, the band faced serious internal issues that often made things difficult. Their journey was filled with ups and downs, and the tensions within the group only added to the drama. Although they appeared to be a tight unit on stage, there were many moments of disagreement, frustration, and personal struggles that created cracks in their foundation. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Cinderella was the tension between the band members, especially involving frontman Tom Kiefer. As the lead singer, main songwriter, and creative force, Kiefer had a strong vision for the band, but not everyone always agreed with his direction. Some of the other members reportedly felt that he had too much control, making most of the important decisions without much input from the rest of the group. This imbalance caused frustration among the other musicians, who wanted their voices to be heard. Over time, this tension grew, leading to occasional feuds and disagreements that threatened to tear the band apart. Adding to the internal problems was the pressure from the music industry. Cinderella was signed to a major label, and expectations were incredibly high. Record executives wanted hit songs, constant touring, and marketable images, which put even more stress on the band. While Kiefer worked tirelessly to meet these demands, some of the other members struggled with the pressure. The constant grind of the music business, combined with the disagreements over creative control, made things worse. The band had to balance their artistic ambitions with commercial expectations, which was not always easy. A major issue that shook Cinderella was Tom Kiefer's vocal problems. His voice, known for its raw, raspy power, began to deteriorate in the early 1990s. The condition, which was eventually diagnosed as a vocal cord paralysis issue, left him unable to sing properly. This was a huge blow to the band, as Kiefer was not only their frontman, but also their main songwriter. The situation created a great deal of frustration within the group, as they were forced to cancel shows and put their career on hold. The changing music landscape of the 90s also played a role in the band's struggles. With the rise of grunge and alternative rock, the glam metal style that Cinderella was known for became less popular. As their popularity faded, the band had to fight harder to stay relevant. This led to disagreements over how they should evolve their sound. Some members wanted to stick to their original style, believing that their loyal fans would always support them. Others thought they should adapt to the changing times, experimenting with different sounds to stay competitive. These creative differences added to the tension that was already present. Financial disputes also played a part in the band's controversies. Money has been a source of conflict for many bands, and Cinderella was no exception. As their success grew, so did the financial responsibilities. There were disagreements over royalties, touring expenses, and management decisions, which caused frustration among the members. While Kiefer was often seen as the leader, some felt that he had more control over the band's financial matters than he should have. These issues were not always discussed openly, but they added to the underlying tension that had been building for years. Legal battles made things even worse. In the mid-1990s, Cinderella found themselves in a legal dispute with their record label. This battle prevented them from releasing new music for several years, further stalling their career. The frustration from this situation only deepened the internal struggles within the band. Some members blamed management, while others felt that their label had abandoned them. The inability to move forward caused resentment, and some of the members started to drift apart. As time went on, the band members began focusing on separate projects. Kiefer, after years of struggling with his voice, eventually launched a solo career. While this was a necessary move for him personally, it created another source of controversy. Some fans and insiders felt that Kiefer's solo work meant the end of Cinderella, even if no official announcement was made. The other members also pursued their own interests, further distancing themselves from the idea of a full-fledged reunion. While they occasionally performed together, it became clear that their bond was not as strong as it once was. The possibility of a full reunion remained a topic of speculation for years. Though the band did come together for performances, there was always a sense that something was stopping them from truly reuniting. Many believed that the past conflicts had created a permanent divide, while others thought that Kiefer's solo success made a Cinderella reunion unnecessary for him. Whatever the reason, the band never fully returned to the studio to create new music, leaving fans wondering what could have been. In 2017, the band's drummer, Fred Coury, made comments that suggested there were deeper issues within Cinderella than most people realized. While he did not go into details, his words hinted that the band's internal conflicts were more significant than what had been publicly discussed. This only added to the mystery surrounding their status, as fans tried to piece together what had truly happened behind the scenes. Keep watching to find out what led them to become inactive. At their peak, Cinderella had everything: hit albums, sold-out shows, and a devoted fan base. Their bluesy hard rock stood out in an era dominated by glam metal. But as the 1990s began, things took a sharp turn. Grunge exploded, sweeping aside many 1980s rock bands almost overnight. The demand for Cinderella's sound rapidly declined. Labels wanted something different, and the industry moved on. It wasn't just a challenge, it was a crushing reality. Despite this, Cinderella kept going. Their fourth album, Still Climbing, was released in 1994, but it barely made an impact. Sales were disappointing, and the grunge movement overshadowed it completely. The band found themselves struggling harder than ever. Tours that once filled arenas now attracted smaller crowds. The shift was undeniable. The real breaking point came when frontman Tom Kiefer faced serious vocal problems. Years of intense singing had severely damaged his vocal cords, and by the mid-1990s, the situation had become unbearable. He underwent multiple surgeries, but recovery was slow and uncertain. He couldn't perform the way he used to, and Cinderella's live shows became impossible. A band that had built its fame on electrifying performances now faced a devastating silence. With Kiefer unable to tour, the band's momentum crumbled. Their label, Mercury Records, dropped them. And suddenly, Cinderella had no recording contract. The music industry had changed, and without a strong presence, they were left behind. Frustration grew among the members. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about survival. Each member had to make tough choices. Without an album to promote or tours to book, they drifted apart. Kiefer focused on his recovery, determined but uncertain about the future. Guitarist Jeff LaBar, bassist Eric Brittingham, and drummer Fred Curry explored other musical projects, but nothing matched the success Cinderella once had. The connection that fueled their rise slowly faded. There were no public fights or dramatic departures, just an unspoken understanding that the band, as it was, could no longer continue. By mid-1995, Cinderella was inactive. Their absence was felt, but rock had moved in a different direction. Fans wondered if they would return, but the silence lingered. Kiefer's voice remained a question mark, and without him at full strength, the band had no path forward. Cinderella made a return to the music scene in 1996, reestablishing their presence after a period of inactivity. Just a year later, Mercury Records compiled and released a greatest hits collection under the title Once Upon a, which highlighted the band's most successful tracks. Accompanying this release was a video compilation that featured all of the band's promotional music videos from their first 3 albums, allowing fans to visually revisit the group's early years. Continuing their resurgence, the band embarked on a United States tour in 1998, energizing audiences with their signature hard rock performances. One of these concerts was recorded and later released as a live album titled Live at the Key Club in 1999 through Cleopatra Records, capturing the raw and electrifying energy of their stage presence. By 1999, Cinderella found themselves under the wing of John Kalodner, who signed them to Sony Records. It seemed like a promising new chapter for the band, potentially leading to fresh material and a revitalized career. However, before they could release a new album, their contract with the label was abruptly terminated. This unexpected setback forced the band into a prolonged legal struggle that spanned 3 years, significantly draining any momentum they had regained. Despite the legal turmoil, Cinderella continued performing, launching tours in both 2000 and 2002, ensuring that their music remained alive in front of dedicated fans. Cinderella stepped into the spotlight once more in the summer of 2025 as the headliners of the VH1 Classic Rock Never Stops tour, reinforcing their status in the rock world. That same year, they joined forces with other notable bands, including Firehouse, Rat, and Quiet Riot, for an extensive tour that thrilled hard rock enthusiasts. Capitalizing on the renewed interest in Cinderella's music, Mercury Records released another compilation album titled Rocked, Wired, and Bluesed, The Greatest Hits, which was available both on CD and DVD, offering fans a chance to revisit their classic tracks. In 2006, Cinderella teamed up with Poison for an extensive tour that held special significance for both bands. It marked the 20th anniversary of their debut albums, with Cinderella celebrating Night Songs and Poison commemorating Look What the Cat Dragged In. This nostalgic journey resonated deeply with longtime fans, bringing together two of the most iconic rock acts of the 1980s for a series of exhilarating live performances. Building on this momentum, Cinderella planned another tour for 2008, sharing the stage with Warrant, Lynch Mob, and Lynam. However, just as excitement was building, a devastating setback struck. The plans for the tour were suddenly canceled when Kiefer suffered another vocal injury. On June 13, 2008, the band's manager, Tim Hain, delivered the unfortunate news, confirming that Tom Kiefer had suffered a vocal cord hemorrhage. This medical issue rendered him unable to sing, forcing the band to drop their tour plans. Jeff LaBar later discussed the band's ongoing struggles in an interview, acknowledging their eagerness to record new music, but emphasizing the difficulties preventing them from moving forward. One major hurdle was their lack of a record label after being dropped by Sony in 2000. Additionally, LaBar had been dedicating time to his new band, Freak Show, which featured Frankie Banali of Quiet Riot, while Eric Brittingham was involved in another project, Naked Beggars. Despite these obstacles, hope remained, as an update on Cinderella's official message board in 2009 indicated that Kiefer's voice had fully recovered. With this encouraging news, promoters of the 2009 Rock Gone Wild Festival confirmed Cinderella as a scheduled performer, but unfortunately, the festival itself was canceled before the band could take the stage. Despite the discouragement, the band still held on to hope, and soon they were back on track. Cinderella officially announced their return to touring in 2010, confirming 2 warm-up dates in advance. As part of this resurgence, they were included in the lineup for Rocklahoma 2010, and Pryor, Oklahoma, as well as Sweden Rock Festival that same year. Shortly thereafter, another significant announcement followed on February 26th, confirming that Cinderella would be the headline act aboard the MSC Poesia cruise, departing from Fort Lauderdale on November 11th, 2010. July 2010 brought another major milestone for Cinderella as they performed at the Common Ground Music Festival in Lansing, Michigan, opening for Bret Michaels. The lineup featured the band's original members, Tom Kiefer, Eric Brittingham, Jeff LaBar, and Fred Coury, reuniting on stage for an electrifying performance. Following this event, they embarked on 14 United States tour dates in support of Scorpions during their Get Your Sting and Blackout farewell tour. Their presence extended across international stages as well, including an appearance at the Download Festival in the United Kingdom in June 2010. Additional performances that year included Rock Jam near Grand Junction, Colorado on August 27th, as well as a show at the Oregon State Fair on September 4th. In November, Cinderella participated in a rock-themed cruise called Shiprocked, joining a lineup of other hard rock acts for a unique concert experience at sea. The band continued their momentum into 2011, launching a world tour to mark their 25th anniversary. Spanning multiple countries, this celebratory tour featured 20 scheduled performances from April through July. One of the highlights of this tour included their headlining spot at the first ever Shout It Out Loud Festival in Germany, where they played to an enthusiastic international crowd. The following summer in 2012, Cinderella embarked on another extensive tour across the United States, this time featuring Sebastian Bach, former lead singer of Skid Row, as the opening act. Cinderella remained active in the live music scene into 2013, with plans to participate in the Monsters of Rock cruise alongside bands such as Tesla, Kix, and Queensryche. Unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances once again disrupted their plans, as Tom Kiefer fell ill, forcing the band to cancel their appearance. Despite this setback, they returned for what would ultimately be their final performances, appearing on the 2014 Monsters of Rock cruise, marking the end of their time together on stage. In November 2017, Tom Kiefer addressed the future of Cinderella and delivered news that disappointed many devoted fans. He openly acknowledged that there were deep, irreparable conflicts within the band, making any hopes of a reunion impossible. There was no official breakup announcement, but the band had effectively ended, Fans held on to hope for another reunion, but the years passed without any sign of one. While Cinderella's music continued to hold a lasting impact on rock history, the group itself had reached the end of its journey. Tragedy struck the Cinderella family on July 14, 2021, when Jeff LaBar was reported to have passed away at the age of 58. His passing was sudden and heartbreaking. LaBar had openly discussed his struggles with alcoholism, admitting that it had played a role in the band's inactivity. His demise shocked both fans and his former bandmates. Kiefer, Brittingham, and Corey released a heartfelt statement, mourning the loss of their longtime friend and guitarist. It was a painful reminder that time was moving forward, and Cinderella's story was truly coming to an end. Just one day later, another blow hit the Cinderella family. Gary Corbett, a longtime touring keyboardist for the band, passed away after a battle with cancer. He had contributed to their live performances for years, adding depth to their sound on stage. Losing both LaBar and Corbett in such a short span was devastating. The losses left Cinderella's legacy even more bittersweet. Kiefer made it clear that without LaBar, there was no future for Cinderella. His solo career continued, but Cinderella would never reunite again. Though their time together had ended, their impact remained. Fans continued to celebrate their music, and their songs remained a part of rock history. Cinderella's story was filled with triumphs, struggles, reunions, and heartbreak, but their music endured. The band's final years were not marked by dramatic breakups or bitter disputes, but by the natural passage of time and the realities of life. Even in their absence, their music played on, keeping their spirit alive for those who still listened. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.